Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Cush with Room Now. Welcome to the Saturday night mid-meeting recap. Artie Kavanaugh and I. Artie, how you doing?
Welcome.
We're going to have the pleasure of a number of our esteemed faculty who've been reporting on the meeting join us for short segments. This is like our version of the Tonight Show. We don't have any entry music for Michael and Bella, but welcome to our evening recap. Michael and Bella.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Michael and Bella are covering Gout. They're both from New York City. I'm sure that they've been very busy. Let's just start with a simple question about the meeting. Bella, what's your impression of the meeting so far? What's impressed you the most?
I think, this is my first virtual meeting, as it is for a lot of us. And I think the best thing about it is I can go to multiple sessions without running around between like long walks. So I think I'm learning much more than usual. All
right. So I forgot to live stream, and now we're also live streaming to our YouTube channel and to our website. So sorry for that difficulty. Sorry to my my friend John Swope, who's managing things. Michael, what's your impression so far?
Well, I'm having a great time. You know, Bella's absolutely right that there are many good things about this. Some not so good things, of course. But honestly, Jack, we've been so isolated for so long. Even to be virtually with colleagues is just great. And I was so excited to see some of the awards this week, to see, especially to see, you know, the Jim Odell Award. I just think it's the people who got awards. It's just so well deserved, and it's so nice to celebrate with everybody.
Michael, you mentioned some limitations. What would he? You know, what is it that you miss about actually being there in person?
Well, you know, Artie, I'm a program director, and I've been a program director for a long time. And I'm a little bit like, this is not politics, but I'm a little bit like Joe Biden, a little bit of a huggy guy. And I really miss seeing my fellows who are spread far and wide and giving them a big hug. I'll tell you, there's just nothing like that.
You know, there have been challenges. You know, the ACR has done a tremendous job putting all this together, but it's been hard watching all those sessions. The Fauci sessions that I think blew up the internet, and it was really, really difficult to get everybody on. But I think people are finding a way around it by clicking on the Zoom link and whatnot.
We're a great community, you know, and, you know, we pull together. We're very lucky as rheumatologists.
So, Bella, we're about midway through the meeting. One limitation of this virtual platform is that while questions can be asked, there's nothing like standing at someone's poster, and you get to really talk to them. What would you say? What do you say? Gosh, I wish there was a poster because I would have asked this person about this. I know there's like probably many questions you have about some of the posters presented so far.
True. So, you know, just walking through the poster room, meeting people, also talking about not the one poster that they're talking about, but seeing what their vision is, what their future directions is. That's something that you cannot type in a text box. Yes, at least ACR has done it so that we can get each and every questions that we want typed down and people answer back. So it's something, but it still doesn't give you the full picture of a lot of abstracts or a lot of thoughts and visions, which are very important, I think, to get future directions in rheumatology.
You know, I know that both of you have been glued to the computer for the last 2 days, and we wanted you to come on and talk about gout with us. What's taken you so far as some of the gout content? Let's start with our faculty lead, Michael Pillinger.
Sure. It's actually been quite a good meeting so far. I noted a few themes. One of the themes is that there's definitely been an explosion in studies of genetics and genomics. Being not a geneticist, I find it a little thick to get through, but it's yielding a lot of interesting information. The other thing I noted is Maybe some good news about some of our drugs in cardiovascular disease. I'm hearing a lot of talk about colchicine, which is something I've been studying for a long time, and coming on the heels of the two big New England Journal studies, people are starting to talk about whether that is going to be something we've got to look at in our patients with disease. And then the last thing I noticed that I think there are a lot of studies about trying to make pegloticase work better, and by approaches with immunomodulation. And I think that's really exciting too, because people, nothing works better than pegloticase for patients who need it when it works. And expanding the pool and not having people have immune infusion reactions or have to stop the drug to avoid those, I think is going to be very important if they crack this nut.
Before we circle back with that, I want to get Bella's take on what impacted her the most, or what stood out for you the most on the abstracts you've seen thus far.
I
There's a lot presented today, right? On Saturday?
Yes, there's a lot of abstracts today. The pegloticase ones were definitely something intriguing because before 2018, actually there was a lot of talk about this, that before 2018, nobody was using immunomodulation with pegloticase. But after that report in, I think November 2018, there's some studies which show spike of using immunomodulation. Now it's up to 20% of patients have some kind of immunomodulation with pegloticase. So those were definitely striking. Also multimorbidity or comorbidity with gout. There's a lot of abstracts. I mean, the cardiovascular stuff was known, but some of the other stuff like, mortality, specifically cause-specific, like gout-specific mortality, as well as amputations, a lot of sort of epi sort of studies highlighting multimorbidity. I think those were pretty striking too.
So, Mike, I know you go through all the abstracts, I think, as we all do. I as I went through them, I didn't know if I saw much on pseudo-gout at this meeting. Is there much? Is there anything?
There is a bit. And there are a couple of talks coming up over the next few days. But you're absolutely right that it's been thin, and I don't know if that's a selection issue or if the meetings, it seems to be a little bit abbreviated. We have fewer sessions. There was a nice abstract about bringing gout and pseudo-gout together about pyrophosphate in tophi, which is something that we all knew because you take x-rays of tophi and you see calcium, but I don't think it's ever been formally studied before. So I was sort of happy to see that one.
Okay, Bella, I know you were midway. I know you looked through the abstracts as well. What do you got coming up? We have still a couple of days. What are you going to prioritize for things to see for people who say, they're not gout mavens, but they want to see the important stuff? What's the key stuff coming up in the next couple of days?
I think a lot of some of the studies on, again, immunomodulation with pegloticase. I think there's 1 or 2 sessions on Monday that we're looking forward to. And a lot of genetic stuff. Again, it's, again, for clinicians, I don't know how relevant it is because you're not going to be able to send these sort of genetic markers, but definitely interesting for research purposes and maybe going forward to phenotype those patients. So,
okay.
Can we just go back to the immunogenicity issue? It actually started for me with Michael's paper about azathioprine use in pegloticase.
Oh, somebody read that paper.
Yeah. Yeah, and I waved it around for a few weeks, and people told me stop it. But I did that in my patients as well, and it worked very, very well. Michael, how do you see the evolution of this concept, that it's gone from azathioprine, then a number of case reports or case series with methotrexate, and now we have a controlled trial, the recipe trial looking at mycophenolate?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, a shout out, if I might, to John Botson, because he sort of single-handedly pushed methotrexate early. When we started with azathioprine, we were a little nervous about methotrexate, and actually Pooja Khanna presented the recipe study today and made the same comment, because we figured a lot of our gout patients probably drink alcohol, so we were trying to avoid it. But it's a logical drug. It's a drug we know how to use, and ditto Cellcept, ditto mycophenolate. So I think the more the better. Basically, it looks like there's also an abstract about the MIRROR study, which is the methotrexate study, and another abstract actually about azathioprine. So it's kind of a full house. And right now I think we're waiting for the full information to come in, but it's looking like this is an approach we can use. These are drugs we know, and being able to pick and choose among them is probably the way to go, because we want to consider our patients individually. So I think we're getting somewhere.
True. And again, the study that I highlighted, 20% of us are already doing this. So this is a claims data with pegloticase, and 20% of patients are on some sort of immunomodulation. So people are already doing it. But I don't know, I always worry about azathioprine given in gout patients, because while switching or doing something, if they start taking the allopurinol or azathioprine together, that does get into problems. So I always worry, even though we never started together, but for whatever reason, when stepping up or stepping down, that's a potential issue that can happen clinically.
Yeah, I think that's right, Bella. One has to be pretty careful, of course. I mean, it's with Krystexxa, so you shouldn't be giving allopurinol anyway, but it is a concern. And Jack, when I submitted that paper, one of the reviewers kicked back and told me about a little known paper from the 1970s that allopurinol actually has urate lowering properties, but not enough to account for benefit. But they said, how do you know the benefit of allopurinol isn't because it lowers urate? Probably not.
So let's go to we got a few minutes, that this issue of cardiovascular effects with febuxostat, that trial is coming up. That's going to be presented, I think, coming up. That's called was it PROBE study?
FAST trial.
Yeah.
FAST.
So what's seen there, and it's going to change our thinking about febuxostat, which seems to have a pendulum about cardiovascular risks. It does, it doesn't, it does, it doesn't. And now this study says it doesn't. Michael, what's your take on this?
I could write a book on this. So let me start by saying that the FDA did what they had to do. There was a signal in the original phase 3 studies. It wasn't significant, and they asked for a phase 4 study, and that's what the CARE study is. And that had a signal and a secondary outcome that is a serious outcome. And so they had to black box this thing. But the CARES trial, however well-intentioned it was, had enormous problems. Bob Turkeltaub was talking about this today. Half the patients didn't finish the trial. Most of the MIs were after people were off the drug, and there was no control. So even if it showed what it showed, it didn't show that febuxostat raised risk. It just showed that it wasn't as low a risk as allopurinol. So we have a few studies that run against it. There's a large study out of Choi's group that's retrospective with 100,000 Medicare patients that showed none of this effect. There was a contested study from Europe called the FREED trial that showed none of it. And now this study from Europe called the FAST trial, which looks like it's going to show none of it too. So how we're going to, how the FDA responds and how we respond is probably different. I think actually the most important thing out of the CARES trial was that patients who didn't take aspirin were the ones who got into trouble. If you had cardiac risk and you took aspirin, you didn't have this problem. So you should probably take your aspirin.
Very good. All right, folks, want to thank you for joining us. We're going to ask Bella and Michael to sign off, and we're going to bring in our next two guests on The Tonight Show.